The massive chamber aboard Sanctuary Prime Station hummed with the voices of hundreds of alien species. Commander Velkara stood before the Grand Assembly, her silver skin reflecting the soft blue light that filled the space. She had served the Galactic Council for 40 years, and in all that time, she had never seen such unanimous agreement. "The signal is clear," she announced. Her voice translated instantly into 300 languages. "A new species is calling for help." They sent mathematical sequences, images of their world and sounds of their civilization. The transmission came from the third planet in a yellow star system, deep in the outer spiral arm. Representative Zothal, whose crystalline body sparkled under the lights, raised one of his many limbs. "How long ago was this signal sent?" Velkara checked her data pad. "According to our calculations, approximately 200 cycles ago. The civilization may have been waiting for our response for generations." The assembly erupted in concerned murmurs. 200 cycles was a long time for any species to wait for rescue. Zothal's voice cut through the noise. "Then we must act immediately. Any civilization brave enough to reach out to the stars deserves our protection." The vote was swift and decisive. Within hours, a fleet of 20 diplomatic vessels prepared to leave Sanctuary Prime. Each ship carried ambassadors, scientists, and supplies meant to welcome a new species into the galactic community. Velkara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Hope, watching as her fleet entered faster than light travel. The journey took 3 weeks. During that time, Velkara studied every detail of the signal. She watched primitive images of bipedal creatures standing on their hind legs. She listened to sounds that her translators struggled to categorize. The mathematical sequences were elegant, showing clear intelligence. These beings had reached out across the void, and the Council would answer. Meanwhile, on the third planet they called Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the UES Valiant. The ship was one of humanity's newest deep space vessels, built in the orbital yards above Mars. Jake had served in Earth's United Defense Fleet for 15 years, but nothing in his training prepared him for what appeared on his sensors. "Captain, I'm reading multiple contacts at the heliopause," his sensor officer called out. 20 large vessels, configuration unknown. They just dropped out of faster-than-light travel." Jake leaned forward. "How large?" "Each one is 3 times the size of our biggest cargo haulers. Energy signatures are off the charts. Sir, these aren't human ships." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. After 50 years of expanding into their solar system and beyond, humanity had finally encountered alien life. Jake's hand moved to the communications panel. "Get me Admiral Grant, now." On Earth, Admiral Lisa Grant stood in the command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens around her showed the positions of every human vessel in the solar system. 47 warships, 300 civilian craft, and countless orbital stations all waited for her orders. "Status of the unknown vessels?" she demanded. A young officer responded immediately. "They're holding position at the edge of the system, Admiral. No hostile moves yet. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, but we can't understand the language." Lisa studied the tactical display. 20 unknown vessels sitting at humanity's doorstep. They could be peaceful explorers or an invasion force. Earth had no way to know. "Put the fleet on high alert. I want weapons ready, but no one fires unless I give the order. And get our best linguists working on those transmissions." Aboard the Eternal Hope, Velkara watched her sensors with growing confusion. The star system they had entered was nothing like what she expected. Instead of a primitive civilization huddling on their homeworld, she saw evidence of advanced technology everywhere. Massive orbital stations circled the third planet. Another planet, the fourth from the star, had colonies on its surface. Mining operations dotted the asteroid belt between them. "This makes no sense," her science officer said. "According to their distress signal, this species should be barely spacefaring. But they've industrialized their entire inner system." Velkara felt a cold sensation in her chest. "Are we certain this is the right system?" "Absolutely. The signal originated from that third planet. But Commander, there's something else. I'm detecting weapons platforms. Hundreds of them. And those ships approaching our position are armed with what appears to be kinetic accelerators and nuclear devices." Nuclear devices. The word sent a shock through Velkara. The Galactic Council had banned such weapons 10,000 years ago. They were considered barbaric, capable of destroying entire ecosystems. What kind of civilization still used nuclear weapons? Begin broadcasting our greeting messages, Velkara ordered. Use all 17 standard languages, and activate our shields, just as a precaution. Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet from his position halfway between Earth and Mars. The Valiant and 15 other human warships formed a defensive line. Behind them, Earth's orbital defense platforms locked their weapons on the unknown vessels. Jake had orders to intercept and observe, but not to fire first. "Captain, they're broadcasting again," his communications officer said. "Still can't understand it, but the patterns suggest an attempt at communication." "Keep recording everything," Jake replied. "Command wants our linguists to have as much data as possible." Hours passed. The alien fleet remained at the heliopause while human ships held their defensive positions. On Earth, Dr. Helen Price worked frantically in her laboratory. She was Earth's leading expert in theoretical xenolinguistics, though until today, her field had been entirely theoretical. She played the alien transmissions over and over, searching for patterns. The broadcast contained mathematical constants, pi and the golden ratio among them. These were universal truths, things any intelligent species would recognize. Helen began building a translation matrix, using mathematics as a common language. After 6 hours of continuous work, she had a breakthrough. The aliens were using prime numbers as a foundation for their language structure. Each prime represented a concept or sound. It was elegant and logical. Helen quickly assembled a basic dictionary and sent it to Admiral Grant. "Admiral, I can give you simple translations now," Helen said over the secure channel. "Full conversation will take more time, but I can tell you what they're saying." "Go ahead, Doctor." Helen pulled up the most recent transmission. "They're greeting us. They say they received our distress call and came to offer protection and membership in something called the Galactic Council." Lisa frowned. "Distress call? We never sent a distress call." "That's what they claim, Admiral. They keep mentioning that we asked for help, that we sent out a signal 200 years ago." Understanding dawned on Lisa's face. "Voyager. They found the Voyager probes," Helen nodded. "The golden records. We sent greetings and information about Earth, hoping someone would find them. But Admiral, they think we were asking for rescue. This changed everything." Lisa opened a channel to all human ships in the system. "All vessels stand down from combat alert. Maintain defensive positions but lower threat levels. We're dealing with a misunderstanding, not an invasion." Aboard the Eternal Hope, Velkara received the first response from the humans. Her translator device processed the message slowly, but the meaning was clear enough. The humans were confused. They didn't understand why the council had come. They certainly hadn't asked for protection. "Commander, they're saying they sent a greeting, not a distress call," her communications officer reported. Velkara felt ice in her veins. A greeting? The council had misinterpreted first contact as a cry for help. They had arrived with offers of protection for a species that didn't need protecting. Worse, they had arrived in force, which the humans clearly interpreted as a potential threat. "Prepare a clarification message," Velkara ordered. "Explain the misunderstanding, and request a diplomatic meeting." Over the next 12 hours, both sides worked to establish better communication. Helen Price developed a more sophisticated translation protocol, allowing for actual conversation rather than simple word exchanges. Jake Morrison was chosen to lead the first human delegation to meet the aliens face-to-face. As Jake prepared to board a shuttle that would take him to the alien flagship, he reviewed everything humanity had learned. The Galactic Council was real, spanning hundreds of worlds. They had come in peace even if their arrival had been based on a mistake. This was humanity's chance to join a greater community among the stars. But Jake couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The alien ships were impressive, but they seemed almost fragile compared to human warships. Their weapons appeared designed for precision, not overwhelming force, and they had misinterpreted a simple greeting as a cry for help. What did that say about them? The shuttle launched from the Valiant, carrying Jake and 2 other officers toward the Eternal Hope. Behind them, Earth waited nervously for news of humanity's first true contact with alien life. No one knew yet how much this meeting would change everything, or how drastically Earth's arrival would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The shuttle docked with the Eternal Hope with barely a whisper. Jake Morrison felt the soft magnetic clamps engage, so different from the harsh mechanical locks of human vessels. He stood with Lieutenant Amy Cooper, a biologist, and Commander Steve Blake, his tactical officer. All three wore their dress uniforms, dark blue with silver trim representing Earth at humanity's most important moment. The airlock opened and Jake got his first look at an alien. Commander Velkara stood nearly 7 feet tall, her silver skin smooth and reflective. She had 4 arms, each ending in delicate 3-fingered hands. Her face was almost human in structure, with 2 large eyes that shifted through colors like oil on water. She wore flowing robes that seemed to move even when she stood still. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Hope," Velkara said, her words coming from a device hanging around her neck. "I am Commander Velkara of the Threxian people. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I greet you." Jake extended his hand, a gesture Amy had warned might not translate. "Captain Jake Morrison of Earth's United Defense Fleet. Thank you for receiving us." Velkara looked at his hand with curiosity, then reached out and grasped it gently. Her skin was warm and surprisingly soft. "Please follow me. We have much to discuss." The corridors of the Eternal Hope amazed the human delegation. Soft bioluminescent strips provided gentle lighting. The walls curved in organic patterns, nothing like the straight lines and sharp angles of human ships. Plants grew in alcoves along the walls, their leaves glowing faintly. The air smelled of flowers and something else, something clean and pure. But Steve Blake noticed what was missing. No blast doors, no emergency bulkheads, no vacuum suit lockers. The ship was beautiful, but it seemed defenseless against any serious damage. His tactical training screamed warnings in his head. They entered a large conference room with a transparent dome showing the stars outside. Around a circular table sat representatives from a dozen different species. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Jake struggled to identify which end was the head. Velkara gestured to empty seats. "Please sit. Let me introduce you to the council members present. This is Representative Zothal of the Core Collective," the crystalline being chimed softly, which the translator rendered as, "An honor to meet you." Velkara continued around the table, naming species Jake had never imagined. The Threxians, the Core, the Melnar, the Bryn, and others. Each greeted the humans with apparent warmth. Jake responded politely, but his mind raced with questions. "Now then," Velkara said once introductions were complete, "let us address the misunderstanding that brought us here. We received what we believed was a distress signal from your world. Can you explain the true nature of that transmission?" Jake nodded. 200 years ago, humanity launched exploration probes called Voyager. They carried information about Earth and our species, mathematical sequences, images, sounds, and a message of greeting. We hoped someone might find them someday. They weren't distress signals. They were invitations to friendship. Zothal's crystalline body flashed with colors. How remarkable. A species reaching out not for help, but for contact. This is most unusual. Unusual how? Amy Cooper asked. Velkara shifted in her seat. Most species that achieve space travel do so because they must. Resource depletion, climate disasters, or threats from predators force them to look beyond their world. The Galactic Council offers protection and guidance to such species, helping them navigate the dangers of the galaxy. Steve Blake spoke up, his voice harder than Jake's. And what dangers would those be? The council members exchanged glances. Velkara activated a holographic display above the table. Images appeared showing various alien species. The galaxy is home to many threats. The Vrek swarm, for example. The image showed massive insectoid creatures crawling over the surface of a planet. They consume all biological matter they encounter. 17 civilizations have fallen to them in recorded history. More images followed. The Shade Collective, a hive mind that assimilated other species. The Burning Ones, beings of pure energy that destroyed ships for reasons no one understood. Dozens of other horrors that lurked in the dark between stars. The Galactic Council provides protection against these threats. Velkara continued. We maintain defensive fleets, share intelligence, and offer refuge to endangered species. In return, member species contribute resources and knowledge. We propose that Earth join us as a protected client species. The room fell silent. Jake felt his stomach tighten. What does protected client species mean exactly? Zothal answered, his tone suggesting he thought the answer was obvious. It means Earth would surrender military sovereignty to the Council. We would station peacekeeping forces in your system. Your governments would receive guidance from Council advisors. In time, as your species matures, you might earn full membership status. Steve Blake's chair scraped loudly as he stood. Absolutely not. Velcara's eyes shifted to deep red. Commander Blake, please understand we mean no offense. This is standard procedure for newly contacted species. You're asking us to surrender, Steve said flatly. To accept occupation in exchange for protection we never asked for. Amy Cooper touched Steve's arm, urging him to sit. He did, but his jaw remained clenched. Jake chose his words carefully. Commander Velcara, I appreciate your offer. But humanity didn't survive to reach the stars by accepting protection. We did it by learning to protect ourselves. Against what threats? A small furry council member asked. Your world has no predators capable of space travel. Our world is the predator, Amy said quietly. All eyes turned to her. Captain, may I? Jake nodded. Amy stood and approached the holographic display. Commander Velcara, may I access your database? I'd like to show you something. Velcara gestured permission. Amy worked the controls. Clearly intelligent enough to understand the alien interface quickly, she pulled up Earth's planetary data. This is our homeworld. Notice the classification. Velcara leaned forward, reading the data. Her skin paled to almost white. Class 12 Death World. That can't be correct. What's a Death World? Jake asked. Zothal answered, his voice subdued. Worlds are classified by their hostility to life. Class 1 worlds are garden paradises. Class 5 worlds are considered challenging. Class 10 worlds are deemed uninhabitable. Class 12 is theoretically impossible for intelligent life to evolve. Amy highlighted different sections of data. Earth's gravity is 1.8 times galactic standard. Our atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, which I understand is considered dangerously high. Our weather systems include storms with wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. She pulled up images of Earth's animals. Lions, bears, sharks, crocodiles, tigers. Our world evolved thousands of apex predator species. The concept of a food chain with multiple tiers of hunters exists nowhere else in your records. The council members stared at the images with expressions ranging from horror to fascination. Velcara touched the hologram, examining a great white shark. You evolved alongside these creatures. We evolved by becoming better predators than them, Steve said. Humanity reached the top of Earth's food chain not through physical strength, but through intelligence, tool use, and cooperation. We learned to hunt in packs, to use weapons, to plan and strategize, Jake added. We didn't build cities because we felt safe. We built them because we needed fortresses against a world that was trying to kill us. We developed agriculture because gathering food meant risking death. Every step of our civilization was built on survival. Velcara sat back, her forearms folding across her chest. I need to consult with my science team. This changes our understanding considerably. The meeting ended shortly after. The human delegation returned to their shuttle, but the mood was tense. As they flew back to the Valiant, Steve Blake spoke what they were all thinking. They thought they were dealing with children. They came here to make us their pets. It was a misunderstanding, Amy said. They genuinely believed they were helping. Maybe, Jake said. But now they know what we are. The question is, how will they react? Aboard the Eternal Hope, Velcara stood in her private quarters, reviewing the data her science team had compiled. Every analysis confirmed what the humans claimed. Earth was a nightmare world by galactic standards. The humans had evolved in conditions that would kill most council species within hours. Her chief scientist, a Threxian named Keylor, delivered his report personally. Commander, the implications are staggering. Human bone density is 40% higher than galactic average. Their muscle tissue is denser and more efficient. They can survive injuries that would be fatal to us. And their cognitive abilities developed specifically for predatory behavior. Pattern recognition, spatial reasoning, strategic planning. They're natural-born hunters. What are you saying? Velcara asked. I'm saying that by our standards, humans are the monsters. They're the apex predators of a death world. And they've brought those traits with them to the stars. Velcara looked out her viewport at the distant blue planet. Earth gleamed peacefully in the light of its yellow star, betraying no hint of the deadly world it truly was. Send a priority message to the Council. Tell them we've made contact with a new species, but don't classify them as a client candidate. What classification should I use? Dr. Helen Price stood before Earth's Defense Council in a secure facility beneath Geneva. The room held 50 people, representing every major nation and military organization on the planet. On the screens behind her, data from the Galactic Council's database scrolled continuously. What we're learning changes everything we thought we knew about the galaxy, Helen began. The Galactic Council has been in existence for over 3 million years. They've contacted thousands of species, and we're the first Deathworlders they've ever encountered. Admiral Lisa Grant leaned forward. Explain what that means in practical terms, Doctor. Helen pulled up a comparison chart. The average Council species evolved on worlds with 0.7 Earth gravity. Their atmospheres contain 12% oxygen. Their temperature ranges are narrow, rarely exceeding 20 degrees variation. Most importantly, their worlds evolved with predominantly herbivorous or filter-feeding ecosystems. She clicked to the next slide, showing Earth's data. We evolved on a world with almost twice their gravity. Our oxygen levels would be toxic to most Council species. Our temperature swings from -40 to +50 Celsius, and our entire evolutionary history was shaped by predation. General Kyle Rogers, head of Earth Strategic Command, spoke up. So we're tougher than them. How does that translate militarily? Everything about us is designed for combat, Helen replied. Our eyes face forward for depth perception while hunting. Our hands can grip weapons. Our brains process threat assessment faster than theirs. We can track multiple moving targets simultaneously. These are all predator traits. She showed video of the Council ships. Look at their vessels. Elegant, efficient, designed for long voyages in comfort. Now look at ours. Human warships appeared on screen. Angular, armored, weapons protruding from every surface. Our ships are fortresses. We build redundancy into every system because we expect things to fail catastrophically. We armor our hulls against impacts. We design for survival because that's how we think. What about their weapons? Admiral Grant asked. Helen pulled up technical specifications. Primarily energy-based. Directed beams, plasma projectiles, that sort of thing. Very precise, very clean. Their defensive shields are designed to deflect these weapons and protect against micrometeorites. And our weapons? Kinetic accelerators that fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Missiles with both conventional and nuclear warheads. Directed energy weapons we developed specifically to penetrate their type of shielding. Admiral, their shields are almost useless against solid matter moving at high velocity. The room erupted in conversation. General Rogers called for quiet. Are you saying we could defeat the Council in a military conflict? I'm saying their entire civilization developed without the kind of warfare we consider normal, Helen replied. The last major war in Council space happened 20,000 years ago. They fight pirates and small conflicts, but nothing like our world wars. They don't think in terms of total war because they've never had to. Admiral Grant stood and approached the screens. What about these threats they showed us? The Wreck Swarm, the Shade Collective. How do they deal with those? They don't, Helen said quietly. They run. They evacuate threatened worlds and hope the menaces move on. The Council has never successfully defended against a major threat. They survive through avoidance and diplomacy. The implications hung heavy in the air. Earth had joined a galactic community that was, by human standards, defenseless. And now that humanity's existence was known, those galactic threats might take notice. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Hope, Commander Velkara held her own council of war. Around her stood the senior members of her fleet, all of them reviewing the same disturbing information. Their military doctrine is terrifying, her tactical officer reported. They plan for mutual destruction. Their strategy assumes massive casualties on both sides. They have no concept of surrendering a battle to preserve forces for the future. Because for them, there might not be a future, Velkara said. On their world, losing a battle meant extinction. They learned to fight as if every engagement was the last. Zothal's crystalline form flickered. What concerns me most is their technology. They achieved faster than light travel through trial and error. Do you know how many test pilots they lost? Thousands. They kept sending people into experimental drives until they got it right. A Melnar representative, barely 3 feet tall with 6 tentacles, spoke in a trembling voice. We should leave. Report back to the Council and recommend quarantine of the system. These humans are too dangerous. They're dangerous because they had to be, Velkara countered, but they're also intelligent and capable of reason. I've spoken with Captain Morrison. He's cautious but not aggressive. They don't want war. But would they hesitate to wage war if threatened? Zothal asked. The question hung unanswered because everyone knew the response. Humans wouldn't hesitate at all. They'd been fighting for survival since before they had language. Jake Morrison stood in the Valiant's briefing room with his senior staff. On the table before them lay everything humanity had learned about the Galactic Council. Amy Cooper had spent 3 days analyzing the data, and her conclusions were both fascinating and disturbing. "They're not weak," Amy said. "That's important to understand. Their technology is sophisticated, their science is advanced, and they've survived for millions of years. But they've survived through caution and cooperation, not through strength." Steve Blake tapped the table, "which means when something shows up that doesn't care about cooperation, they're in trouble." "Exactly," Amy agreed. "Look at the Vrek swarm. According to Council records, the Vrek have destroyed 17 civilizations. The Council's response has always been the same. Evacuate, retreat, hope the Vrek move on. Has that worked?" Jake asked. "Sometimes. Other times the Vrek follow. But the Council has never mounted a sustained military campaign against them. They don't have the doctrine, the weapons, or the will." Jake studied the image of a Vrek bioship. It was massive, organic, covered in what looked like chitinous armor. "Could we fight them?" Steve Blake smiled grimly. "Captain, I've been running simulations. The Vrek use swarm tactics, overwhelming enemies with numbers. They rely on regenerative armor and directed energy weapons. They've never faced nuclear weapons. Never encountered kinetic kill vehicles traveling at 0.9 light speed. You think we could win?" "I think we could hurt them badly. Whether we could win depends on numbers. But yes, sir. I believe human military doctrine would be highly effective against the Vrek." The implications were staggering. Earth, a newcomer to galactic civilization, might be better equipped to fight the galaxy's monsters than species who had been spacefaring for millennia. A priority message came through from Admiral Grant. Jake read it twice, then looked at his crew. "Earth has made a decision. We're accepting membership in the Galactic Council, but on our terms. We maintain military independence, keep all our weapons, and retain sovereignty over our territory." "Will they accept those terms?" Amy asked. "They don't have much choice. They need us more than we need them, even if they don't fully realize it yet." Days passed as negotiations continued. The Council was divided. Conservative members wanted to reject Earth's demands, insisting that no species could maintain independent military forces while being a Council member. Progressive members, led by Zothal, argued that humanity represented something the Council desperately needed. The debate ended abruptly when long-range sensors detected something entering the outer solar system. Commander Velkara recognized the signature immediately, and her blood ran cold. "Vrek scouts. 3 bioships approaching from the galactic east." She immediately contacted Jake Morrison. "Captain, we have a situation. Vrek scouts have entered your system. They were likely attracted by the energy signatures of our combined fleets." Jake was already moving toward the bridge. "What's your recommended course of action?" "Standard Council protocol is to withdraw immediately. Vrek scouts always precede a larger force. If we remain, we risk drawing a full swarm to your world. And if we run, we show them there's something here worth attacking." Jake replied. "No, we fight. Captain, you don't understand. The Vrek cannot be defeated in conventional combat. They've destroyed civilizations far more advanced than yours." Jake's voice was ice cold. "They've never fought humans. Tell your fleet to pull back to Mars orbit. We'll handle this." Admiral Grant received the news with characteristic calm. She'd been preparing for this moment since first contact. "All defensive platforms to active status. Recall all civilian ships to safe zones. Deploy the fleet in formation Delta 7. General Rogers pulled up tactical displays. "Admiral, we have 3 unknown hostile vessels approaching. We have no data on their capabilities, their weapons, or their defenses." "Then we're about to get some," Lisa replied. She opened a channel to every human vessel in the solar system. "This is Admiral Grant to all Earth forces. Unknown hostile vessels are approaching. They have destroyed other civilizations. They think we'll run. Show them why that's a mistake." Jake Morrison took the Valiant to the front of the defensive line. 15 other warships formed up around him, with 40 more moving into support positions. Behind them, Earth's orbital defense platforms armed their weapons. Missiles loaded, railguns charged. The Council fleet watched from Mars orbit as humans cleaned up the debris from the Vrek scout battle. Commander Velkara stood on her bridge, unable to speak. In her 40 years of service, she had seen the Vrek destroy 3 different species. She had watched as entire fleets were consumed by the swarm, and now, a species barely a century into space travel had just killed a Vrek scout ship. "Commander, incoming transmission from the human admiral," her communications officer announced. Lisa Grant's face appeared on the screen. "Commander Velkara, my tactical officers inform me that Vrek scouts usually travel with a larger force. Is that correct? Belcara found her voice. Yes, Admiral. Scout groups precede swarm fleets by 3 to 5 cycles. If those scouts escaped, they will report back. The main swarm will come. How large are we talking? The smallest recorded wreck attack consisted of 37 bioships. The largest was over 200. Admiral, I must recommend immediate evacuation of your system. We can help relocate your population to protected council space. Lisa's expression didn't change. We're not evacuating. This is our home. We'll defend it. Admiral Grant, please understand the magnitude of this threat. The wreck have destroyed civilizations millions of years old. Your species is brave, but bravery won't stop a swarm. Then we'll find something that will, Lisa replied. Commander, I'm requesting all tactical data you have on the wreck. Weaknesses, behavioral patterns, anything that might help. Belcara hesitated. Council regulations prohibited sharing military intelligence with non-member species. But Earth was about to face the Freck swarm, possibly because the Council's presence had drawn them here. I'll transmit everything we have. The data transfer took hours. When it was complete, Earth's military analysts went to work. General Kyle Rogers assembled a team of the best tactical minds humanity had. They studied every recorded wreck encounter, looking for patterns and weaknesses. They used swarm tactics, one analyst noted. Overwhelming numbers, regenerative armor, and sustained fire. But look here. Every time they face concentrated fire, they pull back damaged units to the rear. Kyle leaned closer to the screen. They protect injured ships. That means they value them. Probably because growing new bioships takes time. What else? Another analyst highlighted different sections. They rely heavily on energy weapons. I don't see any records of them using kinetic weapons or explosives. Their defensive strategy assumes incoming fire will be energy-based, which means they've never adapted to defend against solid projectiles or radiation weapons, Kyle concluded. Keep going. Give me everything. Days turned into weeks. The wreck didn't arrive immediately, which gave Earth time to prepare. Every shipyard in the solar system worked around the clock. Civilian vessels were recalled and retrofitted with weapons. Mining ships received railgun mounts. Even cargo haulers were armed with missile pods. Jake Morrison spent his time training new crews. The defense fleet had grown from 47 warships to over 300 vessels of various types. Most weren't true warships, but they could fight. That's all that mattered. Amy Cooper worked with Earth scientists analyzing the Freck biological data. They're fascinating creatures, she told Jake during a brief rest period. Silicon-carbon hybrid biology, able to survive in hard vacuum. They reproduce by budding, which means every bioship is essentially a clone of its parent. Can we use that? Jake asked. Maybe. If they're all clones, they might all share the same weaknesses. The nuclear radiation damaged their regenerative abilities on a cellular level. That suggests their repair mechanisms can't handle that type of damage. So we hit them with radiation. Amy nodded. Every nuclear warhead we have. But Jake, even if we win, we're going to take losses. The Vrek don't surrender. They don't retreat unless damaged beyond fighting capability. This is going to be brutal. Jake had already accepted that reality. He'd sent messages to each of his crew. Personal letters to be delivered if he didn't survive. Most of the fleet had done the same. Earth was going to war and everyone knew the cost. The wreck arrived 32 days after the scout battle. Long-range sensors detected them at the heliopause. 37 massive bioships, each one a living fortress. Thousands of smaller fighter organisms swarmed around them like insects around a hive. Admiral Lisa Grant stood in Earth's command center, watching the tactical display. Every military leader on the planet stood with her, along with representatives from the civilian government. President Karen Hughes, a former Air Force pilot herself, stood at Lisa's shoulder. "This is it," Karen said quietly. "Everything humanity has built, everything we've survived comes down to this battle." Lisa activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Grant. Today we face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations older and more advanced than ours. They expect us to run. They expect us to die. Show them they're wrong. Show them what humans can do." Earth Defense Fleet battle stations. Across the solar system, 300 ships powered their weapons. Thousands of orbital defense platforms activated. Missile batteries loaded, railguns charged, nuclear warheads armed. Earth's entire military might, built over 50 years of expansion, prepared for war. The wreck swarm advanced slowly, confidently. They had done this hundreds of times before. They swept aside defending fleets, consumed biomass, and moved on. This would be no different. The small defending fleet would break and scatter, and then the feast would begin. Jake Morrison held position with the forward elements. His tactical display showed the entire battlefield. The wreck were advancing in a sphere formation, protecting their larger bioships with screens of fighters. It was elegant and efficient, probably perfected over millions of years. All forward units focus fire on the fighter screen, Jake ordered. We need to thin them out before the main engagement. The human fleet opened fire at maximum range. Railgun rounds crossed the distance in seconds, tearing into the Freck fighter organisms. The creatures were fast and maneuverable, but they couldn't dodge projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Hundreds died in the first volley, but thousands more remained. The wreck swarm accelerated, closing the distance. Their energy weapons reached out, striking human shields and armor. The frigate defender took a direct hit, its shields failing. The crew evacuated moments before a second beam punched through its hull. All ships, retreat to defensive line Alpha, Lisa ordered from Earth. Draw them into the engagement zone. The human fleet fell back, but not in panic. This was planned, rehearsed. They retreated through carefully calculated positions, maintaining formation and firing discipline. The Vrek followed, sensing victory. When the swarm reached the designated coordinates, Lisa gave the order. All platforms open fire. Alpha and Beta missile groups launch everything. Earth's orbital defenses had been quietly repositioning throughout the battle. Now they revealed themselves. Thousands of weapons platforms that had been hiding in Earth's shadow. Simultaneously, 2 massive missile waves launched from the Moon and Mars, each wave containing over 5,000 warheads. The wreck swarm found itself in a killing field. Railgun rounds from the platforms created a wall of metal that shredded fighter organisms. Missiles swarmed the larger bioships, overwhelming their point defenses. Nuclear warheads detonated throughout the swarm, flooding space with deadly radiation. The wreck had never encountered nuclear weapons in combat. They had no defense against radiation poisoning. Bioships that absorbed direct hits began to die, their regenerative systems failing. The organic matter that made them alive became a weakness as radiation corrupted cells faster than they could divide. Commander Velkara watched from Mars' orbit, her entire understanding of warfare crumbling. The Council fought battles with precision and efficiency, trying to minimize damage on both sides. Humans fought to kill, accepting their own casualties to maximize enemy losses. "Get medical teams ready," she told her crew. "When this is over, they'll need help." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships pressed the attack, accepting damage to get close enough for kill shots. The cruiser Freedom rammed a damaged bioship, both vessels exploding in a ball of plasma. The destroyer Ranger's crew manually detonated their reactor next to a wrecked command ship, taking it with them. But slowly, inevitably, the wreck swarm died. Their numbers dwindled from 37 to 20, then to 10. The surviving bioships, badly damaged and radiation poisoned, attempted to retreat. Jake Morrison's wing pursued, ensuring none escaped to report. The last wrecked bioship died 4 million kilometers from Earth, torn apart by concentrated railgun fire. The Valiant, scorched and battered but still flying, held position over the debris. Jake looked at his crew, seeing exhausted faces and wounded bodies, but also pride. "It's done," he said quietly. "We won." The celebration on Earth was tempered by loss. 4,000 crew members had died defending their homeworld. 15 warships were destroyed, another 30 damaged beyond repair. But Earth stood. The wreck swarm was gone. Admiral Lisa Grant addressed the planet that evening. "Today, humanity proved we belong in the stars. We didn't win because we were stronger or more advanced. We won because we refused to accept defeat. We won because we fight for our home. And we won because we stand together." Commander Velkara sent her report to the Galactic Council that night. In it, she wrote a single recommendation. The wreckage of the wreck swarm drifted in Earth's orbit for weeks. Human salvage teams worked carefully, studying the alien biology while also searching for their own dead. Every recovered crew member received a hero's burial. Their names added to a memorial that now listed over 4,000 souls who died defending humanity's home. Jake Morrison attended every funeral he could. As one of the senior surviving captains, he felt responsible for each loss. The Valiant had survived the battle, though barely. Half her hull was scorched black, 3 decks were open to space, and her main reactor was running at 60% capacity. But she could still fly, which was more than many ships could claim. 2 weeks after the battle, Admiral Lisa Grant summoned Jake to Earth. He descended through the atmosphere in a military shuttle, watching the blue planet grow larger beneath him. From space, Earth looked so peaceful. Only the orbital debris fields hinted at the recent violence. The meeting took place in Geneva, at the United Earth Government headquarters. Jake entered a conference room to find not just military officers, but civilian leaders from every nation. President Karen Hughes sat at the head of the table, with Admiral Grant to her right. "Captain Morrison, thank you for coming," Karen said. "Please sit." "We have a proposal for you," Jake sat, suddenly nervous. These were the most powerful people on Earth, and they were looking at him with expressions he couldn't quite read. Lisa spoke first. "Jake, the Galactic Council has formally invited Earth to join as a full member. Not a client species, not a protectorate. Full membership with equal voting rights." "That's good news, Admiral." "It is, and it's largely because of what you and the fleet accomplished. The Council has never seen anyone defeat a wreck swarm. We've proven that humanity can defend not just ourselves, but potentially other Council species." Karen leaned forward. "Captain Morrison, we're sending a diplomatic mission to the Council's core worlds. A ship full of ambassadors, scientists, and military observers. We need someone to command that mission who understands both military tactics and diplomacy. Someone the Council already respects." Understanding dawned on Jake. "You want me to command the diplomatic vessel?" "The UES Horizon," Lisa confirmed. "She's a new ship, built specifically for long-range missions. Fast, well-armed, but also equipped for scientific research and diplomatic functions. We're offering you a promotion to full captain in command of Earth's first deep space diplomatic mission." Jake thought about the Valiant, his home for the past 5 years. He thought about his crew, many of whom had died in the recent battle. But he also thought about the galaxy beyond Earth's solar system. Humanity had proven they could fight, but now they needed to show they could do more than just survive. "I accept," Jake said, "under one condition. I want Lieutenant Amy Cooper as my Chief Science Officer and Commander Steve Blake as my Tactical Officer." Karen smiled. "Already arranged. You'll have 60 days to assemble your crew and prepare the Horizon for departure. Make us proud, Captain." Meanwhile, on Sanctuary Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. The news of humanity's victory over the wreck had spread through 300 species, causing reactions ranging from celebration to fear. Commander Velkara stood before the Grand Assembly, answering questions for the 3rd consecutive day. "How many ships did the humans lose?" a council member asked. 15 destroyed, 30 severely damaged," Velkara replied. "Out of 300 vessels committed to the battle," the assembly murmured. Those were acceptable losses by any military standard, but shocking when fighting the wreck. Most species lost entire fleets when the swarm arrived. Representative Zoth Al's crystalline form flashed with colors. "Commander Velkara, in your professional opinion, could humanity defend other Council worlds from similar threats?" Velkara chose her words carefully. "Representative, humanity's military doctrine is fundamentally different from ours. They plan for mutual destruction. They accept casualties that we would consider catastrophic. They use weapons we banned as too cruel. But yes, I believe they could defend Council worlds. The question is whether we're prepared to accept their methods." A small, furry delegate from the Bryn Confederacy stood. "You speak as if humanity is barbaric. Are they truly so violent?" "They are products of their evolution," Velkara replied. "Earth is a death world where only the strong survived. Humanity became strong by becoming the deadliest predators on their planet. But they're not mindlessly violent. They're capable of mercy, diplomacy, and cooperation. They simply never forget that sometimes survival requires force." The debate continued for hours. Finally, the Council voted. By a margin of 247 to 53, Earth was accepted as a full member of the Galactic Council. The decision shocked the conservative members, but even they couldn't deny the implications of humanity's victory. The UES Horizon launched from Earth 60 days later. She was beautiful in her own way, sleeker than a warship but still clearly military in design. Her hull was reinforced against both weapons fire and the hazards of deep space. She carried the best sensors Earth could build, diplomatic facilities worthy of hosting alien dignitaries, and enough weapons to fight her way out of trouble. Jake stood on the bridge as Earth fell away behind them. Amy Cooper worked at the science station, already analyzing data from their sensors. Steve Blake monitored tactical systems, his fingers never far from the weapons controls. The crew of 200 represented humanity's best, chosen from thousands of volunteers. Course laid in for Sanctuary Prime, the navigator announced. Travel time 3 weeks at maximum faster than light speed. Take us out, Jake ordered. Let's go meet the galaxy. The journey was uneventful, which gave the crew time to prepare. Amy compiled briefings on every major council species. Steve developed tactical assessments, noting which species might be friendly and which might be hostile. Jake practiced diplomatic speeches with help from Dr. Helen Price, who had joined the mission as chief cultural advisor. Remember, Helen told him during one session, most council species see conflict as failure. They'll be uncomfortable with direct military talk, but they also respect strength now. You need to balance showing them we're peaceful with showing them we're not defenseless. So be friendly but carry a big stick? Jake asked. Helen laughed. Exactly. Though maybe don't use that exact phrase with the Bryn. They're pacifists who might misunderstand the metaphor. When the horizon emerged from faster-than-light travel at Sanctuary Prime, Jake got his first look at the heart of galactic civilization. The space station was enormous, dwarfing anything humanity had built. Ships from hundreds of species moved in organized traffic patterns, everything coordinated with impossible precision. Reading over 5,000 vessels in the immediate vicinity, Amy reported. Captain, the variety is incredible. I'm seeing hull materials I can't even identify. Station traffic control is hailing us, the communications officer said. A smooth, translated voice came through. U.S. Horizon, welcome to Sanctuary Prime. You're cleared for Diplomatic Dock 7. Please follow the guidance beacons. And Captain Morrison, Commander Velcara requests permission to meet you personally upon docking. Permission granted, Jake replied. Tell her we look forward to it. The Horizon docked smoothly. Jake assembled a small team to disembark. Himself, Amy, Steve, and Dr. Helen Price. They wore dress uniforms, representing Earth at humanity's most important diplomatic moment since first contact. The airlock opened to reveal Commander Velcara, but she wasn't alone. Dozens of council representatives crowded the dock, all wanting to see the humans who defeated the wreck. Some looked curious, others afraid, a few hostile. Velcara stepped forward, her forearms spread in a gesture of welcome. Captain Morrison, Dr. Price, Commanders Cooper and Blake. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to Sanctuary Prime. Jake extended his hand and Velcara grasped it. The gesture was captured by hundreds of cameras from dozens of species. That image of human and alien clasping hands in friendship would become one of the most famous in galactic history. Thank you, Commander, Jake said. We're honored to be here. The tour of Sanctuary Prime took hours. The station was a city in space, home to millions of beings from across the galaxy. Markets sold goods from thousands of worlds. Cultural centers displayed art and music from civilizations older than human history. And everywhere, beings stopped to stare at the humans. They're afraid of us, Amy whispered to Jake. Some are, Helen replied quietly. Others are fascinated, and a few, I think, are hopeful. That evening, Jake addressed the full council assembly. He stood alone before 300 species representing all of humanity. His speech was broadcast back to Earth and transmitted to every corner of council space. Members of the Galactic Council, Jake began. Humanity comes before you not seeking protection, but offering partnership. We are a young species, barely a century into space travel. We have much to learn from civilizations millions of years old, but we also have something to offer. We know how to fight. We know how to survive. And we know how to protect what we value. He paused, looking across the vast assembly. Earth joins this council not to change it, but to strengthen it. We will honor your laws, respect your cultures, and work toward common goals. But we will also maintain our independence. Amy Cooper stood before the Galactic Council's Science Directorate, presenting her findings with the calm precision of someone delivering news she wished wasn't true. Holographic displays showed sensor data from the Galactic East, highlighting an area of space that glowed with disturbing biological signatures. We estimate between 8 and 12,000 wreck bioships in this region, Amy said. The area spans roughly 30 light-years and shows signs of sustained habitation. This isn't just a swarm. This is their home. Dr. Sella, a Threxian scientist who had mentored Amy during her time on Sanctuary Prime, examined the data with trembling hands. In 3 million years of council history, We've never confirmed the location of a wreck hive world. They attack, they retreat, but we've never found where they come from. Until now, Amy replied. And there's more bad news. The biosignatures are increasing. Activity levels have risen 17% in the past month alone. Whatever dormancy cycle they were in, it's ending. The room fell silent. Every scientist present understood what this meant. The wreck swarm that attacked Earth was likely a foraging party, a small group sent out to gather resources. The main hive with thousands of bioships was waking from hibernation, and they now knew about humanity. Jake Morrison received Amy's report while meeting with Commander Velcara in her private office aboard Sanctuary Prime. He read it twice, then set down the datapad and rubbed his eyes. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Unknown," Velcara replied. "Wreck movement patterns are unpredictable. They could emerge in months or it could be years. But Captain, when they come, they won't just target Earth. The entire Galactic East is at risk. 27 Council species have colonies in that region. Then we need to prepare those colonies. Evacuate if necessary, fortify if possible." Velcara's skin shifted to a pale blue, indicating distress. "The Council will debate this for cycles. We don't have mechanisms for rapid military response. By the time we agree on action, the wreck could already be attacking." Jake stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the thousands of ships moving around Sanctuary Prime. Civilization, built over millions of years, maintained through patience and consensus. It had worked for the Council because the threats they faced moved slowly, giving them time to debate and plan. But the wreck didn't care about debate. "What if Earth takes the lead?" Jake asked. "Explain." "We contact every species with colonies in the danger zone. We offer to help fortify their defenses, train their security forces, even station human ships for protection. We don't wait for Council approval. We just do it." Velcara considered this carefully. That would be seen as highly irregular. Some species might view it as human aggression, an attempt to establish military dominance. Some might, Jake agreed, but the ones in the danger zone will probably be grateful for the help. And if the wreck attack, will already be in position to respond. You're talking about deploying Earth's fleet across dozens of systems. That's an enormous commitment. We made a commitment when we joined the Council. To defend civilization against threats it can't handle alone. This is that threat. Velcara's eyes shifted through colors as she thought. Finally, they settled on green, indicating decision. "I'll support your proposal, but you'll need to convince the Council. Many members are still uncomfortable with human military presence." The next day, Jake stood before the full Council assembly once again. This time, holographic displays showed Amy's data, the Freck hive world pulsing ominously on the star maps. 27 species have populations in the potential attack path, Jake said. Millions of civilians who will have no defense when the wreck come. The Council can debate appropriate responses for months or years, or we can act now. A delegate from the Melner Concordat, a species whose colonies lay directly in the danger zone, spoke up. "And what action do you propose, Captain Morrison?" "Earth offers to deploy defensive forces to any colony that requests protection. We'll bring ships, weapons, and training personnel. We'll help fortify orbital defenses and establish evacuation protocols. And when the wreck come, we'll be there to fight." Representative Zothal's crystalline form flashed thoughtfully. "And what does Earth want in return for this protection?" "Nothing," Jake replied simply. "We're Council members. This is what Council members do for each other." The assembly erupted in discussion. Some species praised the offer. Others questioned human motives. A few openly accused Earth of seeking to establish military dominance through fear of the wreck threat. It was a small delegate from the Bryn Confederacy who finally cut through the debate. Her name was Pila, and her soft fur rippled as she spoke. "I come from a world of pacifists. My people have never raised weapons against another species, but I have seen the records of what happened at Earth. I have watched humans die defending their home, and I believe them when they say they want to help." She turned to Jake. "My colony world, Bryn's Hope, lies in the danger zone. We have 2 million civilians and no military force. Captain Morrison, will you help us?" Jake met her eyes. "We will. You have my word." That broke the deadlock. One by one, species with colonies in the danger zone requested Earth's assistance. By the end of the session, 17 species had accepted human protection. 10 others remained undecided. Only 3 outright refused, insisting they could defend themselves. Within weeks, Earth's fleet mobilized on a scale never before attempted. Admiral Lisa Grant coordinated the largest military deployment in human history. Ships left Earth's solar system in waves, each carrying weapons, supplies, and most importantly, people who knew how to fight. Jake took the horizon to Bryn's Hope, a beautiful world of rolling grasslands and crystalline seas. The Bryn were gentle beings, evolved from herd animals that survived through cooperation rather than combat. They had built a peaceful society among the stars, completely unprepared for war. Landing on Bryn's Hope felt wrong to Steve Blake. "These people have never known violence," he said to Jake as they toured the capital city. "How do we teach them to fight without destroying who they are?" "We don't teach them to fight," Jake replied. "We fight for them. That's the point," but Amy Cooper disagreed. "With respect, Captain, we can't be everywhere at once. When the wreck come, they might hit a dozen worlds simultaneously. These people need to know how to defend themselves, at least enough to evacuate safely." She was right, and Jake knew it. Over the next months, human military advisors worked with Bryn's security forces. They didn't try to turn pacifists into soldiers. Instead, they taught evacuation procedures, basic defensive tactics, and how to buy time for help to arrive. On other worlds, the work was different. Some species had military traditions but had never faced an existential threat. Human officers shared lessons learned from Earth's history, teaching tactics that emphasized survival over honor. It was difficult work, challenging cultural assumptions that had existed for millennia. Jake traveled between systems, coordinating the defensive network. He met with planetary leaders, military commanders, and ordinary civilians who just wanted their families safe. Everywhere he went, he saw the same mixture of hope and fear. Hope that humanity could protect them, fear of what was coming. 6 months into the deployment, long-range sensors detected movement from the wreck hive region. Amy was the first to spot it, working late in the Horizon Science Lab. "Captain, to the science deck." Immediately, she called over the ship's communications. Jake arrived to find Amy staring at sensor data, her face pale. "They're moving. The hive is active and bioships are leaving their home system. How many? I can't get an exact count at this range, but Jake, it's not dozens. It's hundreds. Maybe thousands." Jake immediately opened channels to both Earth and Sanctuary Prime. "This is Captain Morrison. The wreck hive fleet is mobilizing. All defensive positions need to go to maximum alert." Admiral Grant's response was immediate. "Confirmed, Captain. We're tracking the same signatures. Estimated time to nearest colonies is 3 to 4 weeks, assuming they maintain current speed." On Sanctuary Prime, the Council finally stopped debating and started acting. Emergency powers were granted to the military command structure. Evacuation orders went out to the most vulnerable colonies. And for the first time in recorded history, the Council assembled a unified defensive fleet. Commander Velcara took command of the Council forces, a mixed fleet of ships from 40 different species. She knew they were untested in real combat, but they were what the Council had. She could only hope it would be enough. Jake gathered his senior staff aboard the Horizon. Amy presented the tactical situation with her usual precision. "The wreck fleet is splitting into multiple groups. Best guess is they'll hit 5 to 7 colonies simultaneously, stretching our forces thin." Steve Blake pulled up defensive positions. "We have human ships at 15 colonies, Council forces at another 20. But we can't be everywhere. Some worlds are going to face the wreck alone. Then we make sure the ones we can reach survive," Jake said. "And we hurt the wreck badly enough that they think twice about continuing the attack." Dr. Helen Price, who had accompanied the mission as cultural advisor, spoke quietly. "Captain, the Council is looking to humanity for leadership. Whatever happens in the coming battle will define Earth's role in galactic civilization for generations.